Steve, it's great to have you back with us. First of all, happy holidays. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. You too.
Okay, last night, BYU has a double-digit lead in the second half against a pretty formidable foe and a tough place to play in Normal, Illinois against Illinois State. Yet they watch the Redbirds come back and win that game in overtime. What was your immediate takeaway after the game last night that dropped BYU's record to 5-3?
Well, I think it's really important in those kinds of situations on the road that you get stops and you get multiple stops, and it just continues to put more pressure on the opponent. And then you getting to the free throw line, and they did get to the free throw line at times, and there were some missed free throws, there were some missed open shots. But I think anytime you're on the road, all of a sudden it becomes more of a half-court game. In those kinds of games, when you've got a 14-point lead, I don't think you can play with the same pace that you did to get that lead. Some people will just keep your foot on the pedal. At the end of the day, and I'm not suggesting not shooting the ball. What I'm suggesting is at the defensive end, you've got to get stops. That's the key to winning on the road. Getting stops, getting rebounds, getting control. Obviously, if there are opportunities to transition and break, you do so. But, they just could not get multiple stops. And then, obviously, once they got there, they were a little bit fortunate. It wasn't like BYU didn't have a chance for a couple of late missed free throws that could have helped them. But it is a tough place to play, and it's a great league. That Missouri Valley Conference is a great league. Illinois State is a really good program that nobody in Utah has probably heard of. But at the end of the day, that was a tough loss, a game that they had a great opportunity to win, many opportunities.
Steve, how concerning is the team's three-point shooting?
Well, I think that is a big part of what BYU does. And I think as I've watched several games, and it's come to the point where a couple thoughts come to my mind. One is that with three-point shooting, I see the team, and specifically players, we're dribbling into a lot of three-point shots that are contested. And we're taking it off when shots are contested rather than probably passing the ball inside or moving it wing to wing or coming off a ball screen kick and making that one more pass. Sometimes that can be a better way to get threes when teams are struggling. And I think really for a young man, I know even as a player, for me, I always felt like early on it was really important rather than having my first shot be a three, even an uncontested three, that I could get to the free throw line, that I could get to a mid-range shot, that I could get a layup. It's something where I get confident where that basket looks a lot bigger than it would. If the first couple of threes I take I miss, then I'm kind of in that mental dilemma where what do I do now? And so it's a bit problematic, but it's something that can be repaired and fixed. There are a lot of different ways to do that. I'm sure the coaching staff, we got a great coaching staff there. One of the things I love to do at times is just to watch film with them and to look at their feet and look at their release, just mechanics, just to see if there's something a little bit not right. And then looking at the types of shots they were getting and having those conversations, but all the time remaining positive. There's really good shooters there, and sometimes teams do go through this. But I think fewer contested threes will improve the performance and improve confidence.
Steve Cleveland with us on BYU Sports Nation, former BYU basketball head coach, friend of the program. Coach, I said earlier on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 6 on the concern meter for BYU's three-point shooting. And I'm not higher because I don't think it can get much worse. And I also am looking forward to the addition of Nick Emery in 6 days from now when he returns against Utah State. How much of a difference do you think Nick Emery will make for BYU basketball, not just from the three-point line, but overall for this team?
Well, I think he's going to have a really, really, really major impact with this team. And one, you're putting another 1,000-point scorer on the floor, somebody that has great experience. And really, he and Jashir will be the two best on-ball defenders. And the thing is, Nick defensively is really going to help this team. Nick can finish at the rim. And, there's going to be some nerves. I'm sure there'll be some anxiety. That will eventually go away. I think for Nick, the best thing I could tell him is just be patient. Let the game come to you. You're here. You have the right to be here. No other thoughts in your mind. Clear your mind and just go out and play. And he is. And I think that this coaching staff will handle this well. Coach Rose knows the challenges that Nick's gone through, and it's kind of like, just breathe, Nick. Just breathe and relax, and you know how to play this game. And he's going to make people better around him. All of a sudden they have more depth. And it's in a situation now where once he gets his feet wet and gets going into the flow of the game, he's going to have an immediate impact. And it's not just going to be in scoring. I think a lot of it will be, too, is the ability that he has to attract 2 to 3 defenders as he attacks and finding maybe younger players that are struggling a little bit shooting, players that, can't get it off the dribble, that need their feet squared. He can provide some of those passes that will also improve the shooting.
Coach Rose last night on the post-game show with Greg Wrubell was talking about just needing to get more production from other guys. And it's, and I think Greg actually even tweeted out this morning just the percentages in the wins. You're getting more production from other guys that are not named Yoli and TJ in the wins. In the losses, those guys kind of disappear. How do you get more production from the guys who aren't Yoli and TJ?
Well, let me preface my thoughts. First of all, I'll tell you that the 3 losses were really, really good teams: Nevada, Houston, and Illinois State. There are going to be many players in that team that have the opportunity against Northwest State, Alabama, A&M, Rice. So number one, the talent level in the games they played. Obviously, the numbers are going to be much better with the games that they won, but it's also the quality of opponent there. Nevada, Houston, Illinois State at home or on the road are going to really, really tough places to play. And your young men that are coming off the bench, it's going to be harder for them just because the talent level is at another level. But that being said, one, I think Jashir Harnett, he's been a little bit ignored here, but I think he is much improved from last year. So you've got Jashir, you've got TJ, and you've got Yoli, who have been pretty consistent year in and year, game in and game out. I think one of the things you can do for players, whether they're young or whether they've been in the program, is sometimes to do some quick hitters, to do offensive sets and schemes that get them the ball where they can score. Rather than Dalton Nixon starting with wide open threes, he's going to be wide open right now, as is Harding, because they haven't proved that they can hit those shots. So how do you get them to have more confidence? Get them more in isolations where they can attack the rim and get to the free throw line, or post them up against smaller guards. With Zach Sellius, he's still shooting around 36% from the three, but we've seen Zach really light it up. But I like the idea of Zach getting the ball in the mid-range at times, getting the ball in places where he can get to the free throw line. Baxter is a young man that's going to score off the rebounds. He's not going to shoot the ball. He hasn't developed that skill where he can turn around and take a 15-foot shot. So more production comes from defining what good shots are, helping them to take their initial first shots in places where they're confident, and then from there, as they step out, there'll be improvement. Having Nick on the floor will help some of those young men that have had a hard time stepping up. And I suspect that Nick will come off the bench for a while. He may come off the bench the whole year. That's the case. And, you're going to have a super sub coming off. There may be a time very shortly where he starts. I have no idea what they'll do. But having Nick there will give them an additional scorer and take a little bit of pressure off some of the guys that have been struggling.
Coach, I feel better already.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you for making the holiday season better. It's great to talk to you, my friend.